This is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. On August 6th, Democrat presidential nominee Kamala Harris announced that she had chosen Walz as her running mate. And later that day, at a rally in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Walz went after his Republican opponent, J.D. Vance.
Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, J.D. studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on! That's not what middle America is.
First of all, what's wrong with someone who grew up in the heartland being accepted to an Ivy League school? That's a weak attack. And the left loved hillbilly elegy, before J.D. Vance became outspoken politically. Kinda like how the left all loved Trump before he ran for president as a Republican. Hypocrites. But it's ironic that Tim Walz is criticizing J.D. Vance for supposedly trashing his community, because Tim Walz did just that when he was asked why he didn't send the National Guard to Minneapolis to stop the George Floyd riots.
I think the mayor said I request the National Guard. Whew, this is great. We're going to have massively trained troops. No, you're going to have 19-year-olds who are cooks.
Oh, I didn't know that the National Guard was a culinary arts program. Did Walz think that they were going to try and stop the riots with spatulas and frying pans? Plus, Tim Walz was in the National Guard for 24 years. Talk about trashing your community. Of course, allowing a community to burn to the ground is worse, but Next, Walz made reference to a rumor originating from this viral tweet that J.D. Vance had relations with a couch. And even though it was immediately debunked, that didn't stop Tim Walz from making a tasteless joke.
And I gotta tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there?
Did you see what I did there? What a fucking creep. But you know what they say, karma is a bitch. Because while the Democrats only have the weakest of character attacks to use against J.D. Vance, Republicans actually have attacks that are substantive. Now, as stated earlier, Tim Walz served in the Army National Guard. In mid-2004, Tim Walz rose to the rank of Command Sergeant Major, but this was a provisional rank, a rank that would not be earned until required coursework was completed. But Walz never completed that coursework, and when he retired from the service, his rank reverted to Master Sergeant. For clarity, he is a retired Master Sergeant, but when he ran for Congress, he would misstate his rank over and over and over again.
Coach to the state champs. Teacher of the Year. Command Sergeant Major. Retiring 4 years late after a tour supporting the war in Afghanistan.
I'm Tim Walz, and I approve this message.
Good morning. I'm Tim Walz, and I'm running for Congress in Minnesota's 1st Congressional District. I'm a retired Command Sergeant Major. I spent 24 years in the Army National Guard.
Hi, my name is Tim Walz, and I'm running for Congress here in southern Minnesota. I am a retired Command Sergeant Major in the Minnesota National Guard.
And then, after he was elected, he continued to lie about what rank he retired at.
Hello, everyone. I'm Congressman Tim Walz. It's a real honor to be able to pay tribute to the 34th Red Bull Infantry Division and to your families and friends as you prepare to deploy in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. As a 24-year veteran of the National Guard and the Red Bull Division and a retired Command Sergeant Major, I'm especially proud of you.
And I have to tell you, as a member of Congress and as a veteran and a retired Sergeant Major and a citizen, I'm ashamed that you have to come here today. That the idea that you would have to come here and ask this Congress to do the right thing for your son is absolutely appalling.
What I find to be absolutely appalling is the fact that creepy Tim Walz is lying to a Gold Star family's face about what rank he retired at. And for clarity, this was not a simple mistake. This was deliberate. For example, here's Congressman Tim Walz's dead Twitter account, where he listed Command Sergeant Major in his bio. And as Bree A. Dale originally reported on X, Tim Walz had the Command Sergeant Major insignia printed on his Congressional Challenge coin. And it's all because Walz wanted to be known as the highest ranking enlisted service member ever to serve in Congress.
By being elected from this district and being a retired command sergeant major, I am the highest ranking enlisted soldier to ever serve in Congress since the beginning of this nation. When the veterans of foreign wars testified in front of Congress, afterwards the commander came up to me and he said, "It's about damn time that Congress got a sergeant major."
Wow, so special. But hey, let's give Tim Walz the benefit of the doubt. I mean, maybe he forgot that he didn't finish command sergeant major school or serve the required 2 years afterwards to earn his rank. These things happen.
Now we'll hear from Command Sergeant Major Tim Walz. I want him to know how much we all appreciate his service to our country, whether it's in the classroom or on the battlefield.
So not only did Nancy Pelosi introduce Walz as Command Sergeant Major, but she also said that he served on the battlefield. However, during his 24 years in the Army National Guard, Tim Walz never saw combat. So when it was his turn to speak, Tim Walz made sure to correct the record, right? Right?
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the leadership here. Thank you to my brother-in-arms, Patrick Murphy, who is also my roommate. And I'd like to say a special thank you to Chairman Lantos, who an awful lot of wisdom. And as we were speaking about the idea of a resolution or a non-binding resolution, the chairman was so eloquently explained to me that there is nothing non-binding about the vote of a U.S. congressman.
So not only did he allow Pelosi to call him by a rank that he did not retire at and allow her to basically call him a war veteran, but apparently C-SPAN was also under the impression that he's an Afghanistan war veteran. And for the record, Tim Walz was never deployed to the Middle East, but he has no problem allowing you to assume that he did. And this is nothing new. Before he officially announced his candidacy for Congress, news articles were being written stating that Walz was a war veteran. Walz is one of at least 14 servicemen and women from the most recent Iraq and Afghanistan war to have enlisted for a U.S. House or Senate run this year. Veterans of battle, but not of politics. In this photo from 2004, Walz is holding up a sign saying, "Enduring Freedom Veterans for Kerry." And when Walz did announce his candidacy, a press release states that Walz is a veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom. Then there's this 2006 press release from then Senator John Kerry, who announced that he was going to endorse Walz for Congress and wrote, "Tim served our country in Operation Enduring Freedom." But this was not true, as Tim Walz was never in Afghanistan for Operation Enduring Freedom. However, he was deployed to Italy in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Big difference. And then there's this report about a debate in October 2016 where the Associated Press wrote, "Tim Walz was a veteran of the wars in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and that he retired at the rank of Command Sergeant Major." Now, did Walz or his campaign make an effort to correct the record? Of course not, because that wouldn't be politically beneficial. For example, watch then Congressman Walz nod in agreement when a C-SPAN host introduces him as a retired Command Sergeant Major and a veteran of the war in Afghanistan.
Congressman Tim Walz, also a member of the Armed Services Committee and Veterans Affairs, Democrat of Minnesota, highest ranking enlisted soldier ever to serve in Congress, enlisted in the Army National Guard at 17 and retired 24 years later as Command Sergeant Major and served with his battalion at Operating Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan.
Again, he could have and should have corrected the host and said, "Well, to be clear, I didn't serve in Afghanistan." But that would require having character. And here is Tim Walz back in 2018 claiming that he was in combat.
I'm retired Sergeant Major in the Army National Guard. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
First of all, if you're a former National Guard member with 24 years of experience comparing an AR-15 sporting rifle to a fully automatic M4 carbine, you can't expect to be taken seriously. Second, Tim Walz claimed that he carried weapons of war in war. However, Tim Walz was never in war. Tim Walz never saw combat. Tim Walz is a liar. But don't worry, guys, the Kamala Walz campaign has come to Tampon Tim's defense. He misspoke. And the thing is, it took the campaign 4 days to respond to the "I carried weapons of war" claim, despite reports that Kamala's team was supposed to be on top of it. Jasmine Wright from Notice wrote about the selection process for Kamala's VP pick, and that Walz, in a more than 2-hour-long interview with Harris's vetting team, answered questions about his time in the Army National Guard and warned the campaign that his military record could be fodder for GOP attacks. "We knew he served. We knew people tried to make it an issue before, but we knew his answer," said Cedric Richmond, co-chair of the Harris-Walz campaign, who aided Vice President Kamala Harris in her running mate search. He was open and honest about it. He said, "This is what people will try to say, but here are the facts. And we deal in the world of facts. So Trump lies and distorts, and we believe the American people will hear facts." Except the Kamala campaign is so inept. They initially wrote that Walz was a retired command sergeant major. This would later be changed to served as a command sergeant major. And then Kamala HQ, formerly Biden HQ, posted the video of Walz lying and hilariously quoted the part where he misstated carrying weapons of war in war. Talk about an unforced error. But then again, maybe it wasn't their fault. Maybe they saw that video and thought, well, he said he was in war, so it must be true. And the bio on the governor's website says that he's a retired command sergeant major. I mean, why would somebody lie about that? Which is ultimately the big question. Why did Tim Walz lie about his rank and mislead voters about his military service for almost 2 decades? Good luck trying to spin your way out of this one, Tampon Tim. Oh, and then there's the issue regarding the timing of Tim Walz's retirement from the service right before his battalion was deployed to Iraq. But that's a video for another time, if there is a next time.